Greetings, Israel. This is another teaching from Tail Ministries. This is a short video that's going to cover some additional findings in old publications such as newspapers and books. So let's begin. So here we have a publication called The Hebrew Standard of Australia. This publication was in 1950. Let's see what it has to say. New York's Negro Synagogue. In the 1920s, the Negro Congress of New York focused the world's attention on New York's Negro Synagogue, the prayer house of black Jews. Quite a number of Jewish Negroes live in that city, and they have their own congregation. Their old rabbi, Josiah A. Ford, who was then the chief minister of the synagogue Beth B'nai Abraham, was interviewed by a correspondent of the Morning Journal. He was asked many questions about his dusky congregation. He told the correspondent that he was born in the West Indies. His father and mother were Jews. My father became a Christian, but later, due to my influence, returned to Judaism. My mother remained a faithful Jewess and brought me up according to the spirit and letter of Judaism. They found an Egyptian Jew who taught me Hebrew. I came to America in 1910. I had a good reputation as composer and musician and was appointed music director by the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Using this opportunity, I commenced Bible classes for Negroes and gave lectures on the ethics of Judaism. These lectures and courses were very successful until a Christian ministry caused them to be stopped. The task of our synagogue is to spread the traditional teachings of Judaism. It was very interesting to hear what Rabbi Ford had to say about many black Jews spread over all Africa. He was convinced that there were many thousands of Negroes in Africa who were Jews without knowing it. In the West Indies and in certain parts of Africa, there were many thousands of Jews who had their young sons circumcised and burned a mark on their forehead. Rabbi Ford did not know any more about the history of these black Jews and said that it was difficult to find information about them. He thought that the fact that the many parts of Africa were widely separated made research into the origin of the black Jews difficult. But many of these dark Jews believe, and it is an age-old tradition with them, that they are the descendants of the 10 lost tribes. Interesting how American and European publications and news agencies haven't reported this information. Well, we know who controls the media, so it was kept hush-hush. Let's continue. In the New York Tribune, August 16, 1858, our first visitor was a black Jew who wanted to do something in the exchange way. Then came a rosy Polish chambermaid who asked whether we had brought our own bedding. The valet de place was also a Jew, rusty, black, and unwashed, whose company we were obliged to endure during an inspection of the city. In the Clarence and Richmond Examiner, 1904, we have Land of the Black Jew. Mr. Oliver Bainbridge delivered a lecture in the South Grafton School of Arts on Wednesday evening on the above subject. There was a fair attendance, the mayor presiding. The lecturer handled his subject in a rather eloquent manner and was attentively listened to. He described New Guinea as the land of the black Jew and gave his reasons for coming to that conclusion. He intends delivering a lecture in the Theatre Royal at an early date. 1904, and they knew Jews were black. and had lectures on it. Let's continue. This is called, publication is The Jewish South, Richmond, Virginia, 1893 to 1899. The same proposition may be advanced as to Darkest Africa, as the following article, taken from an exchange, proves conclusively. Lately, an exchange published the following regarding the black Jews in Darkest Africa. Gubler Kubler, the chieftain, stated that a great number of Israelites inhabited the oasis of Sahara, I'm assuming that's oasis of Sahara, and dwell also at Bather, Biz, Arabia, Tigert, Buzra, Bain, Uzab, Loquaz, etc. There are in each of these places as many as 100 Jewish families, and in some of them even more. In one place there are 600 families with numerous synagogues and about 100 copies of the law, written upon parchment, some of which were more ancient than any before seen. Gubler talked very knowingly about Timbuktu and the large number of Jewish Negroes found near Barbary. Nearly every family among them possesses the law of Moses written upon parchment. Although they speak of the prophets, they have not their writings. Their prayers differ from those of other Jews and are committed to little leaves of parchment, stitched together and containing numerous passages derived from the Psalms. These Jews have mingled some of the superstitions of oral law, which they have not committed to writing, with some of those of their neighbors, the Mohammedans and the heathens. They enjoy equal liberty with other subjects of the African chiefs and have their synagogues and their rabbis. The explanation which they give of themselves in connection with their black skin is this: that after the destruction of Jerusalem, the time of the first captivity, some of their ancestors, having neither goods or land, fled to the desert. The fatigue which they endured was so great that nearly all the females died by the way. This is in the mid-18 to late 1800s. A Tribute for the Negro by Wilson Armistead. Okay, this is a book you can find on archive.org. Okay. A remarkable fact. Okay, this is page 65 and 66. A remarkable fact in the history of Loango in the Empire of Congo is that the country, according to a statement which was fully credited by Oldendorp himself, a writer of most correct judgment and of unimpeachable veracity, contains many Jews settled in it, who retain their religious rights and the distinct habits which keep them isolated from other nations. Though thus separate from the African population, they are black and resemble the other Negroes in every respect as to physical character. It is probably an allusion to this case that Pentington in his textbook says the descendants of the colony of Jews originally from Judea settled on the coast of Africa are black. M. Rosette declares that there are many Negroes in the Algerine country. Interesting. They always knew who you were and took you as slaves according to scripture. Psalm 83 was at work, as we taught previously. So that's the last of my teachings. Now, here's one of my favorite quotes that a lot of people don't use, but it also solidifies that the scripture was talking about a black people, right? Are ye not as the children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel, saith the Lord? Have not I brought up Israel out of the land of Egypt, and the Philistines from Caphtor, and the Syrians from Ker? Ethiopia is Cush, Cushites. Are you not as the children of the Cushites? You know how the Gentiles like to call us Cushites? I mean, they like to call us Hamites and Cushites. Well, the scripture compares Israel to the Hamites, to the Cushites, to the Ethiopians, right? So this is one of my favorite because it slaps you in the face. You know how a lot of the Gentiles want to argue, well, okay, it says black, but it wasn't talking about skin color and all this stuff, right? Well, you can't escape this simple verse right here, right? And I want to give thanks to everyone who is keeping us in their prayers. My brother is slowly recovering. It's a slow process, but he's feeling a little better. So I appreciate you keeping us in your prayers. Peace and blessing, Israel. Your captivity is ending.